Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about some make or break players for this upcoming season. These are all young players that I feel like have a ton on the line for this season in terms of what their career is going to be moving forward. Is it going to be something where they're going to turn it around, they're going to sign a nice extension, they're going to stay with their current team or go somewhere and be valued in free agency? Or are they going to become just, an end of the bench Mario Hezonja type player? Like, those are the two options for these players, I think, moving forward, and it is a huge season for them, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. But really quickly before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every day, so it's a great place for consistent NBA content. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well. It helps me out a ton. YouTube really likes it when there's a good like ratio as well. So if you're enjoying it, leave a like rating down below, and you can also check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen and in a link tree down in the description below. But with those things said, we'll go and get started with the list. We've got 6 players here, and I'm going to begin with, let's just say, a polarizing one. And it's Lonzo Ball, because the Pelicans are in a really interesting situation where they've got a significant amount of young players they're trying to evaluate continuously, and they're unless they move some in a trade, they're really only going to be able to keep a handful of them if they want to be smart about their money, considering the other players they already have on the roster money wise. And they need to evaluate what players are going to be conducive to winning, what players really help them in the long term and or have value in a trade or to the team. And I'm not positive that Lonzo Ball has established himself as like a core player for this group moving forward. Not that he's bad, not that he's necessarily done anything wrong, but it's just been a little bit inconsistent. He hasn't really, as I said, established himself in the way that you would have hoped for him to. And that's why this season is so critical for him. Without Drew Holiday there anymore, obviously Eric Bledsoe was there, but that shouldn't be as much of a roadblock as someone like Drew Holiday was. Hopefully, he can be the point guard that this group needs as a playmaker, really continue to grow as a shooter, has really gotten better defensively throughout his NBA career as well, and has become a bit of an asset on that on the floor when he's locked in and when he's engaged. And if he can, have a good year, it's pretty easy to see him as part of the core of him, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and then whatever young players step up on this roster this year as well. However, it's pretty easy to see a scenario as well where he doesn't have a great year, and the Pelicans have plenty of other guards that they can play, whether it's younger guys or veteran guys, to push Lonzo Ball out of this rotation a little bit. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that's kind of the whole point of this list, is to talk about guys that really need to make something happen this year, and if they don't, their NBA career could be going much differently than they would have hoped that it would, especially for someone like Lonzo that is a former very high draft pick, has had a couple of opportunities now to prove himself, and hopefully he takes advantage of this one this year, because I definitely think this is the true definition of a make or break season for Lonzo Ball this upcoming season. Next up now on the list is a player that I'm a little bit concerned about, and it's Lauri Markkanen. I would not have thought to put him on a list like this a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, but how bad he was last year really concerns me, and I worry that maybe it's becoming a bit of a confidence issue for Lauri Markkanen. Now, you can always blame injuries, you can blame a coach, you can blame all kinds of stuff, but for me, sometimes when you watch him, it just doesn't look like he has that same level of confidence that he did earlier on in his career, which is a really difficult thing to fix for a player, specifically for a young player. Now, there's a coaching change in Chicago. There'll be a change in the offense. Maybe he can get more opportunities, and maybe that's all he'll need, and he'll break out of his slump. But if he has another year this year like he did last year, things are going to be going downhill for his career pretty quickly. Not that he's going to be completely awful, but his status as like a potential up-and-coming future borderline all-star is definitely going to be called into major questions. So hopefully, I'm rooting for Lauri Markkanen. I think he's an interesting player. I think that, especially early on in his career, he was really good. And just for whatever reason, hasn't been able to find that form again. Hopefully he does this year. Truly a make or break year for him, in my opinion. Next up now, Frank Ntilikina. And honestly, I put him on the list, but for me, he's already kind of in that like broken category. Like he's had plenty of opportunities, I think, in New York to prove to the coaching staff, to prove to the franchise that he's a critical player, and he's a player that you need to put on the floor. And yeah, I mean, you can blame different coaching staffs for playing him, for not playing him, but at the end of the day, like, you have to kind of have to prove yourself, and you kind of have to force the coach to put you out on the floor, and there just weren't enough times where Frank Ntilikina has done that. Now, you can tell me everything you want about what he does defensively, how good he is on that end of the floor. The fact of the matter is, you can be Tony Allen, but if in the modern NBA, if you can't score, if you can't shoot, if you can't do something in the offensive end, you're not going to play, or at least you're not going to play very often. And so Frank Ntilikina's had a handful of NBA off seasons now to improve his game, to work on his jump shot, to improve as a perimeter player, as a creator, as a scorer. And this has to be the last chance for him. If he hasn't figured it out by now, then he is just going to be an end of the rotation, end of the bench guy, or he's going to go back overseas. There's no other option for him at this point, is to either make it happen, to be a quality, usable NBA offensive player, or to not be. Because like he's had the defensive abilities to be a rotation guard since he came in the league, and he just has not been able to figure out the offensive side of the floor. And there's really nothing else to say about Frank Ntilikina. I'm tired of hearing about how good he is defensively. He needs to show some improvement on the other end of the floor, and then we can talk. He has improved some, but not to the point of being an actual usable NBA player on that end. Once he does, then we can have more of a conversation. Make or break year for sure for Frank Ntilikina this year. Next up now, another former high draft pick, Mo Bamba. This is a player that he's been on, I don't even know how many lists at this point about, make or break, or guys I can't give up on, or things like that. But again, it's similar to the Ntilikina thing. Like, show me something. Show me something other than just potential or upside or whatever. Show me a usable NBA skill that isn't chucking threes and occasional rim protection. This is a Orlando team that this year is going to probably get a little bit experimental with some of their lineups to try and get Bamba out on the floor more often, because obviously Vucevic is going to be the starting five unless he's moved, which was one of the reasons why I called into question the drafting of Bamba in the first place, because it was pretty clear those two guys couldn't play together, and then they re-signed Vucevic. But he has to prove that he's at least like a 15 to 20 minute per game guy for the Magic, because it's not like the Magic are great. It's not like they have a ton of talent. Yes, Vucevic is in front of him, but he needs to have worked on his game enough to be a usable player, to be able to knock down some shots, to be able to protect the rim, to be a good rim roller, move his feet defensively, all those things that are expected of potentially good young centers in the NBA. He just hasn't shown enough of those things. So again, another huge make or break season. Next up now is a player that I'm really excited to see back on the floor, and it's Justice Winslow. And he has struggled with injury issue after injury issue after injury issue, and at some point, he's going to get an opportunity to be back out on the floor this year. And he's had such a bizarre career, because there have been times, or there were times in Miami where they gave him the opportunity to be the primary ball handler and to really be a facilitator and a creator, which is a role that I think fit him really well. And he looked really good, and he looked like a potential cornerstone guy in Miami. And then he's, the injury stuff, then he's been moved, and now he's in Memphis, which is like, is he going to be a primary ball handler, creator at times? I have no idea what role they're going to put him in. I'm excited to see him once again be on the floor. But if he doesn't show the ability to either be a good off-ball wing that can shoot, can attack closeouts, and can defend, or be a good, two-way lead guard that can defend and can also create, whether that be with the second unit or otherwise, it's just not going to happen. And it'll officially be time to give up on Justice Winslow after this season if it doesn't happen. I really liked the move at the time that Memphis was able to get him in exchange for someone like Andre Iguodala, because I felt like that just added another potential high upside player to this group that I already really liked in Memphis. But with that high upside comes a potential really, really low floor if he is just hurt or doesn't improve his game. So he is someone that I'm definitely keeping an eye on and anticipating, hopefully, a really, really good season from this year, because if he's good, he'll get attention on that Memphis roster, because they're already going to be a team that people are going to be paying attention to. There's definitely a need on the wing for this group to have a really good player, and hopefully Justice Winslow can fill that need. And last up on the list now is Zach Collins, another player similar to Mo Bamba that I feel like has made a few lists similar to this, where he has to step up. He has to be a good NBA rotation big. And it's weird because when healthy, there have been plenty of times that I've watched Zach Collins and been like, wow, like this guy's actually good. He's got good footwork. He's got, some skill. He can shoot a little bit. He's relatively aggressive on the glass. The issue has been staying healthy, and then strength has been a problem as well. And also just like kind of figuring out what his role is exactly, especially with Nurkic there now. It kind of seemed like they thought he was going to be able to play the four when they drafted him, and that just hasn't materialized. I hope that he can become a good rotation center and not just be like a forgotten, random big guy in the league. But those are, the only two outcomes for this season for me personally. Zach Collins steps up. He's good for a Portland team that's good, potentially gets himself a nice new deal to be a good center moving forward, or that doesn't happen for him. He's an end of the rotation guy, and he's just kind of like Frank Kaminsky for the next couple of years, which is not not where you want to be if you're Zach Collins and a former top 10 pick. So another guy to keep an eye on amongst many on this list. Again, the full list is Lonzo Ball, Lauri Markkanen, Frank Ntilikina, Mo Bamba, Justice Winslow, and Zach Collins. All these guys have got to step it up this year. It is truly a make or break year for every single player on that list, in my opinion. And I'm curious to know down in the comment section below who you guys think are make or break players for this upcoming season. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.